As we head into a new era of college football, everybody is going to have to look back on the amazing memories that have been left over the last decade. Over the last decade, we've seen amazing players come and go, and we saw the start of the 4-team playoffs. And there was a lot of legendary moments that happened over the 4-team college football playoff era. And the 4-team playoff era ultimately ended with the Michigan Wolverines and the Washington Huskies playing in the national championship game. These were two programs that hadn't won a national championship since the 1990s. And although Michigan won it and had a spectacular season and had a dominant defense, I wanted to talk about a special player from the Washington Huskies. And that player I'm going to be talking about today is quarterback Michael Penix Jr. And I wanted to talk about how he ultimately became a Washington Huskies legend and why he will be remembered forever. But before I get into this video, let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you will love this channel, because we upload daily college football content, and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing. But without further ado, let's talk about Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. was born in Cookeville, Tennessee. He later moved and was raised in Dade City, Florida. Michael Penix Jr. then attended Tampa Bay Technical School, where he started at quarterback for the Titans, and in 2 seasons, he threw for 4,243 passing yards and 61 touchdowns, with only 6 interceptions thrown. His father was a running back at Tennessee Tech in the 1990s, along with his mother running track at Tennessee Tech. So Michael Penix Jr. had the right genetics and the right footsteps to follow in. And with his parents being highly experienced in athletics, Michael Penix Jr. was definitely made for the sport of football. And then after high school, he decided to take his skills to the next level, which was the college level. And he transferred to Indiana and had the chance to play at the FBS level. And he was only a 3-star prospect. And there wasn't very high expectations for Michael Penix Jr. A lot of people didn't know who the kid was, but let me tell you that he completely overexceeded expectations. And it may have took him a while to get to the top, but he had a spectacular college career. But let's talk about the start of his college career at Indiana, because Indiana was where it all started. And it was a very tough road at first. As a true freshman in 2018, he tore his ACL after playing 3 games, and then he was redshirted. But he had completed 21 of 34 passes for 219 yards and 1 touchdown in those 3 games he played in. Michael Penix Jr. then recovered from his ACL injury, and he was back in time for the 2019 season. And it was announced that he earned the starting spot for this team, and in 6 games he completed 110 of 160 passes for just under 1,400 yards, with 10 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. But again, he only played 6 games this season, because he got injured again. But in 2020, he started again, and with the limited season, Indiana only played 8 games, but nearing the end of the season, what do you expect? He tore his ACL again, for the 2nd time, and he was out for the remainder of the season. After you tear your ACL twice, this is kind of a point you have to really reset yourself and rethink all your decisions, and injuries were a huge problem for Michael Penix Jr. during his time playing at Indiana. And it wasn't just the torn ACL injuries, it was the shoulder injuries as well, and Michael Penix Jr. just couldn't catch a break at Indiana. And after all the rehab, he then decided to make a decision that would ultimately change the game and make him grow as a player. And on December 14th, 2021, Michael Penix Jr. announced his decision to transfer to the Washington Huskies. This Washington team was a team bringing in a new head coach in Kalen DeBoer, and they were coming off a 4-8 season. So this was really a complete change for Washington, and they were in rebuild mode. But they were bringing in some big pieces to the team that helped lead this team to success. And this was a big change for Michael Penix Jr., having to move across the country after many heartbreaking injuries that had really held him back. And at this point, if you thought there was nothing left for Michael Penix Jr., then let me tell you, you were wrong. Because he had a lot more to prove, and his journey was not over yet. And he made one of the greatest comebacks in college football history. And his first season at Washington completely revived his career and put him back on track. After he helped lead this team to an 11-2 record in 2022, he was also the FBS leader in passing yards, and he passed for 4,641 yards, and he became the all-time single-season passing leader for Washington during the Alamo Bowl win against Texas. And not only did this revive Michael Penix Jr., but it revived Washington, and it put this Washington team back on the right track. And going from 4-8 to 11-2 in one season was a phenomenal accomplishment for a Washington program that had been bad for a couple years prior, and Michael Penix Jr. was a big reason that this program got back on track. Michael Penix Jr. was also named AP Comeback Player of the Year and won the Maxwell Award. And this is when we truly find out how special of a player Michael Penix Jr. actually was, but his time wasn't up yet, and he had one more season. But in this season, he put together a spectacular season at Washington. But heading into next season, this team had high expectations, and they were expected to have one of the best offenses in the country. They started the season ranked in the top 15. There was so much hype around this team coming into this past season, but again, I would still say this team overexceeded expectations in Michael Penix Jr.'s final season in college, because I doubt there were many people who expected this team to make a national championship. But if you did, then you have to be feeling good about yourself, because if you expected this team to make a national championship at the start of this past season, people would probably laugh at you. But Washington went undefeated and actually made the national championship. And like I said, I highly doubt there were many people who expected this team to go all the way. But if you did, then shout out to you. But this Washington team completely overexceeded expectations again for the second year in a row. And they finished the season with a 14-1 record, with their only loss coming to Michigan in the national championship. And Michael Penix Jr. put up crazy numbers again and was the Heisman Trophy runner-up, which nobody in Washington football history has ever done. And personally, I believe he should have won it, but Jaden Daniels ended up winning the Heisman Trophy. And I'm not going to cover that too much. Some people believe the right person won the Heisman Trophy, and other people like me believed it should have went to someone else, like a Michael Penix Jr., who helped lead their team to a national championship, and he ended up throwing for nearly 5,000 yards, which was more than the previous season, and he led the country in passing yards again. He won the MVP in the Pac-12 championship game when he helped lead them to their second win over a top 10 Oregon team, who a lot of people thought would win the rematch this time. Everybody was hyping up this Oregon team, and everybody thought they were going to beat Washington, but Michael Penix Jr. played out of his mind in that game. But Washington went 4-0 as underdogs, and despite them losing in the national championship, they still proved a lot of doubters wrong, and they had a memorable season, and they were definitely just a completely different team from other teams you would see in the national championship game. Tell me another team that went 4-0 as underdogs and won as many one-possession games as Washington did. Washington was a very intriguing team, and I don't really think there's another team that you can compare to the 2023 Washington Huskies. And Michael Penix Jr. made his name known at Washington, and he made magic with an elite receiving corps. He had Roma Doomsday, Jalen McMillan, and Jalen Polk to throw the ball to, and it was definitely fun watching this offense all season long. And I know the season didn't end how they wanted it to, but you still can't take away from this season. Washington ultimately ended up making the national championship, and they lost to a dominant defense, and that's why at the end of the day, defense wins championships. But Washington was still a special team, and there's no denying that. When people look back on this Washington team, the first player that they will likely remember on this team is Michael Penix Jr. And now that his college career is over, he has to take that next step, which is the NFL. And Michael Penix Jr. has cemented himself as one of the greatest college quarterbacks in recent memory of college football. But now it will be interesting to see what he does at the next level. And I'm not a big NFL fan, but I'm excited to see what Penix can do in the NFL. And maybe I'll tune into more NFL games next season. But over the time Michael Penix Jr. had at Washington, he won the Maxwell Award, AP Comeback Player of the Award, First Team All-American, Second Team All-Pac-12, and back-to-back seasons. And he also was a Second Team All-Big Ten player in 2020 at Indiana. So at least he did something at Indiana. But if it wasn't for the adversity he faced at Indiana, he may not have made it to where he was today. Getting injured at Indiana really made him hold back on scrambling the ball, and he would hardly leave the pocket, and it really made him become a better passer, and he stopped using his legs much, because the injuries really forced him to be a more passive quarterback, but he made it work, and it was impressive how much we've seen this player grow, and Michael Penix Jr. was a team player. There's going to be concerns for Michael Penix Jr. because of his past injuries, but he is one of those top quarterbacks in the upcoming draft, and he has so much potential to be decent in the NFL, and he has shown his toughness at the college level, and he will be a quarterback to watch out for. Michael Penix Jr. had one of the greatest comebacks in college football history, and I truly believe that. 4 season-ending injuries wasn't enough to keep him down, and when people look back at the greatest players in Washington football history, Michael Penix Jr. will definitely be on that list, and he was a spectacular player. But anyways, that's going to do it for the video. Be sure to like the video, and also subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you will love this channel, because we upload daily college football content, and we basically cover everything on this channel, so definitely consider subscribing. But anyways, that's going to do it guys, and peace out.